Hello everybody, welcome to another movie review. As you can tell by the thumbnail, the title, the fact that there's a chance it's either popped up in your mentions or you searched for it. Today I am reviewing Captain Mar-Vell. Now, I did my written review yesterday because I saw Captain Mar-Vell last night, and I didn't want to do my video review until I got this cup. I have kind of gotten into collecting movie cups, but it has to be a particular movie or something that I'm interested in, because the last ones they had were like the Bumblebee movie and Wreck-It Ralph, and that just wasn't for me. And I was really hoping they'd have a Captain Mar-Vell one, and they did, but unfortunately I didn't have money yesterday. I had money today, and I knew my brother was going to see the movie today, so I said, look, I've given you some money, you're going to get that Coke that you always get, but you're going to upgrade it, get a popcorn with it, and you're going to get me that damn cup. And then he did, and he brought it home for me. I was so happy. This is now my second Mar-Vell cup, and you know what? In terms of design of all the movie cups I own, which is not many, this one is now officially my favorite. I don't know if you can see, on this side we have Captain Mar-Vell looking fine, and then on this side we have her logo, which is awesome. I will say, I don't know if you can see, but they've superimposed her face with the body, and it doesn't link up. Like, they totally look detached. It's kind of funny, but also kind of sad. This is actually smaller than my Avengers cup, but this one is actually better, and it's the first cup I've owned where they've actually done a dome shape at the top and made it kind of 3D because it's all raised, and at the top it's her logo. I think again that is a really neat feature. They've never actually done that before, so it's a nice change. It's a nice addition to the collection. I think it's design-wise, it's better than the Avengers cup, because that one, while it looked cool and it was bigger, it didn't have all the Avengers on it. It only had half of them. Why would you leave out half of them? Yeah, my only con for this is the fact that, yeah, it doesn't fit as much Coke in there as my other one, and the fact that I'm forking out the same amount of money for something that holds less product, I think is a bit of a rip-off. But nevertheless, the design is awesome, and welcome to the family, Captain Mar-Vell. So let's do today's review. Captain Mar-Vell is a 2019 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Carol Danvers, and is directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, with a screenplay by Anna Boden, Ryan Fleck, and Geneva Robertson-Dworet. From a story by Nicole Perlman, Meg LeFauve, Anna Boden, Ryan Fleck, and Geneva Robertson-Dworet. It is the 21st film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the first in the franchise to feature a female director, which not enough people are mentioning. The film follows a story set in the 90s where Danvers becomes Captain Mar-Vell after the Earth is caught in the center of a galactic conflict between two alien worlds. Well, if it's not the most controversial film of the year. The crazy thing is, there's nothing about this film that needed to be so controversial. The way some people were reacting to it, you'd think this film went out and killed every endangered animal on the planet or something. Now, I admit that when the trailers came out, I hated them, and I even found them offensive, and I've talked about that on social media, and one thing I stressed is that my comments were only on the trailer, not the film itself. I can't judge what I haven't seen. Of course, now I have seen Captain Mar-Vell, and I certainly have some things to say. Let's get the most significant part out of the way. Yes, I enjoyed the film. I think it's another good addition to the MCU, and it's great that now we're seeing more dominant female characters being brought into the mix, especially since every time the MCU creates a female character for me to love, they go and kill her off. Thanks, MCU. That said, I did not find the film to be all that thrilling, and nothing about it wowed me. Being the 21st film in the MCU, it's naturally going to be compared to many other origin films in the franchise, and that's just how it goes, but that's not to say the character doesn't bring anything to the table. A first film in a franchise like this doesn't mean we know what to expect from the character in the future. Many people hated the first two Thor films and loved the turnaround with the third, not me, I love them all, and every character has has an extensive contract. That means there is room to do more than we know, and I like that. It's just this character's future is full of endless possibilities. We also end up getting so much more out of these characters when we see them all brought together, so I'm looking forward to seeing her appear in Endgame. I don't feel anything about this film makes it stand out from other films in the MCU. It seems to think that just by having a female lead is enough, and it's not. It needed to have more than that. For the first half of the film, there was not a single thing I liked about Carol Danvers, and I'd say 90% of that can be blamed on writing. If you're familiar with my reviews, then you'll know this isn't my first time broaching this subject. In films depicting a strong female character, the character in question is typically shown using one of my least favorite tropes, and that is that to be a strong woman, you must be devoid of all femininity. For the first half of the movie, Danvers is an arrogant hard ass with not much to back up her arrogance. Characters like Iron Man are notorious for arrogance or ego, but the difference is he's arrogant about things that he can back up and are substantiated, so you can't fault the honesty aspect. Danvers is arrogant about her skills and her strength, despite at the time having no control or superiority in either. One could almost blame it on the brainwashing, but I don't think that checks out. As Danvers embraces who she is and who she wants to be and takes back control and comes into full control of herself, only then is the arrogance acceptable, because then she can back it up. Before that, it's just uncomfortable to witness. Danvers has virtually no people skills and spends most of her time coming off almost robotic. Even comedic dialogue was delivered robotically. While it was nice to see the character loosen up the more in touch with herself she becomes, even by that point it seemed Brie Larson could not land a punchline to save her life. Mar-Vell movies are known for an abundance of humor, and not everyone has the gift to land a line. While they probably gave her one too many punchlines, I couldn't see Larson bring any of them home. I began to warm up to the character during the second half of the movie when all is revealed to Danvers and she begins to embrace her human side. She picks up someone else's mantle and sort of begins her path of redemption. She's not necessarily going out of her way to be a hero, she's more trying to do the right thing and trying to make up for some mistakes she made, even though she was not to blame for them. When you see reality hit her and you see her vulnerable and human, powers aside, that's when I began to root for her. That's when I started to see her as a worthy addition to the MCU. I wish we had gotten to see more humanity and vulnerability in the character, because it's those things that make a character so relatable to the audience. It's once those walls are knocked down that the character can be embraced. Unlike many other instances when a strong female character is depicted this way, there is at least an explanation to the character's unemotional stance in this film. It's all due to how she has been brainwashed and trained to ignore emotions and humanity, and when she realized that not embracing those things was holding her back, it's a powerful moment for the character that sends a strong message that feelings and emotions are important and vital, and suppressing them is damaging. While at times Danvers and Fury seem like oil and water, they surprisingly had great chemistry, and I like how they work off each other. I believe he brings out her humanity and she helps bring out his idealistic side, which makes for a great dynamic. Based on the first post-credit scene, I strongly hope that we see the news of what has happened to Fury affect Danvers greatly. It would upset me very much if she received the news and went straight into battle mode. This film is going to be very emotional, and if they don't let her experience that emotion, it'll be a fail for me. I love seeing Fury back, and he continues to be one of my favorite characters. Samuel L. Jackson is great with delivering his punchlines as always, and it's interesting to see him before the years of the job start to get to him, but if I'm honest, I think my favorite character was Goose. It's amazing how a cat can help tie these movies together, and I love that. I didn't think I would, but I did. As a former watcher of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, I was confused about how this film would go, as I only knew Kree to be bad guys. In all honesty, I had a great many questions going into this film, and luckily every last one of them was answered. How Danvers gets her powers makes perfect sense and also explains perfectly why she is crucial to defeating Thanos. The Skrulls help create the perfect explanation for why no other Avenger has heard of her and why we haven't seen her until now. It's also great for creating a story about her coming into her powers and becoming this ultimate superhero, which I'm looking forward to seeing. A person can grow and learn a lot in 20 years, so it'll be interesting to see if she's developed any new skills that will be used in the fight against Thanos. Once again, this film has tied so many strings together and just further connected these films, and it's mind-boggling how they managed to string it all together and have it line up so perfectly. It's truly a marvel. See what I did there? Jude Law has been killing it lately, first as Dumbledore and now as Yon-Rogg. He does his fair share of fighting and he was impressive. The man may be getting older, but he is hitting these performances out of the park. I also love that the conclusion of the character makes it possible for him to appear in the future, which makes it fun. In all truth, everyone gives great performances, especially Brie Larson. I think she could have given the character a lot more range, but she has time to grow into the role, and we'll see what happens with Endgame. The special effects are great. I expect nothing less from a Marvel movie, but I felt aside from Danvers' powers that the special effects were a lot of what we've seen already. Shields and spaceports reminded me of Wakanda's shield, but even more so of the shields used by the Nova Empire. The style and overall aesthetic of the main city on the Kree planet reminded me a lot of the building on Sakaar in Thor Ragnarok. Every time I saw something, I was reminded of another Marvel movie where I'd seen it before, and the more that happened, the less excited I became. I would have loved them to try something new that would have made this film stand out for being more than just finally putting a woman in the lead, which isn't that hard to do. Captain Marvel, however, has become my favorite MCU soundtrack. Move over, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel has stolen your music thunder. While Guardians of the Galaxy focuses on the hits of the 80s, which I love, Captain Marvel gives us the hits of the 90s, and they were playing all my favorites. The only reason I'm not going out to get the soundtrack is that I own every song featured in this film. Yes, I was lip syncing to all of them, not singing out loud because I'm not fucking rude when it comes to being at the cinema. I mean, the whole film was alive with absolute perfect 90s nostalgia. It really wasn't just trying to be 90s as a joke, it was being true to the 90s, and how authentic it was, I thought was really fantastic. Captain Marvel's big fight scene near the end of the movie, where we get to see her bringing the heat, was my favorite moment of the film, and the most unexpected song choice accompanied it. I would never in a million years have thought to pair this song with a fight scene, but it worked out surprisingly well, and I loved every second of it. Very well done. After the second trailer, many people compared Captain Marvel's power and flight to Iron Man, and from the trailers I entirely agreed, but there is quite the difference when watching the actual film. Positions and initial movements are the same, but that's because how else are you going to propel yourself forward when your flight is dependent on energy bursts? That aside, I think she has some new and exciting moves that makes it fun to watch her in action, and on top of that, I like that she looked like she was having fun with the power and just being able to let go. Plus she's good at hand-to-hand combat, so that's fun too. I predict people might try to call out the film for its depiction of the character being insulted and degraded or just underestimated for being a woman. Some sensitive people might try to say it's pushing an agenda, but it's actually not. The film is depicting a woman who was trying to make it as a pilot serving her country in the 80s, when women in the military was not a common or welcome thing. Yes, this is how women were treated, so this being depicted is nothing more than being accurate to the period and the circumstances the character found herself in at the time. It was no different to what you would have seen done back in the day in Demi Moore's film G.I. Jane. What it showed is that Carol Danvers is a strong and tenacious person who doesn't give up when she sets her mind to something, and if she gets knocked down, she will continue to get back up, and that is someone you want to show to audiences that consist of many young, impressionable children. I enjoyed the film very much, though I was expecting a lot more. It's the first time since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 that a Marvel movie has tried to deliver excessive amounts of comedy and yet has failed to make me laugh. Reading the audience, I think about a third laughed through the whole movie, but the majority only laughed at a couple standout moments, and they were usually centered around Fury or Goose. I think this film was a great introduction to the character and a great lead up to Endgame, and I think she will impress me far more in that film than she did in this. It's an overall solid film, but I did come out of it with a few more cons than I'm used to, which is a bit refreshing, and at least this means there is room for growth, and that's always welcome in my book. This film has 2 post-credit scenes, but if you're in a hurry to leave or have to pay for parking, then the second is not crucial. It is only there as a humorous bonus, so feel free to skip it and wait for the DVD. I've never done a ranking video, but I will just say now, this film probably wouldn't make it into my top 10. While I enjoyed it, I didn't exactly find it very memorable. Nothing about it really stood out. Like I said, for the first half, I really didn't like the character, and I didn't think Brie's performance was that great. But then by the second half, as I said, I really kind of was warming up to her, and so that actually gives me a lot of hope for Endgame, because if I was liking her in that moment, and Endgame technically takes place like 20 years later, then there's a good chance that maybe she'll have grown a lot more, especially emotionally, which means she may end up being even more likable. So I guess I'm kind of judging her based on what I'm expecting from Endgame, and if she doesn't deliver in Endgame, I'm just gonna give up on the character. I think that may end up being it. So I won't completely form my opinion of what I think of her until Endgame. Endgame is the determining factor. You really don't know the characters until you see them interacting with everyone else, so it's going to be interesting. I'm very excited. But yeah, I mean, this film really did try to sell itself more on the fact that it's a female leading the film instead of a male, instead of really putting work into anywhere else. I mean, even the villain story was kind of weak, if I'm honest, and the villain, or at least who we think is the villain, yeah, was just giving out constant comedic dialogue, and it wasn't funny. It was just really awkward. Like, I don't really think anybody laughed at his lines. Maybe, oh no, maybe a few people did. I didn't. I wasn't one of them. I loved the Change opening. It was a beautiful tribute. I won't say more than that. We had a couple of those moments and I thought it was quite beautiful. Brought me to tears. Thanks a lot, Mar-Vell. But, yeah, I mean, good movie, but, I mean, it didn't break the mold. It was kind of just what you'd expect from a Mar-Vell movie. I wish that they had tried to focus on bringing something new and exciting to the table instead of just putting all their eggs in the gender basket. That was kind of a really, that was a weak move, unfortunately. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Please, unless you are a troll, in which case, if you are, please don't comment. Your comments will be deleted and you will be blocked. I have strict rules on my channel. Anything harassive or abusive to me or others is not welcome. But I welcome discussion, even from people who didn't like this movie, because I'm not crazy. So tell me, comment down below if you have seen this film, what you thought of it, and comment down below maybe if you don't plan on seeing this